Well, playoff basketball is the same thing. I'm watching him last night. Can't we just be honest and just say, Russell ain't great late? That's fair, isn't it?
I think the last 2 minutes of the NBA for sure is about not who can make the biggest shot or make the most dynamic play, but who doesn't mess up. Russ needs to learn how to finish games in a pattern thinking type of a way.
What do you mean?
So you have players who are pattern players. Darren Williams was a pattern player in Utah for Coach Sloan. You knew the offense would be the same every year. They would run autos, and he mastered those patterns. Coach Sloan never lets you play outside of his offense.
Okay.
LeBron James is an innovator. He's a quick thinker. He's the maestro of basketball. He controls every orchestra on the court, and how he takes over games and creating throughout the flow of the game is a fluid puzzle thinker.
Okay.
Russ is a pattern player. Russ needs one set for down one set for down two, one set for down three.
So he goes into these situations with a system.
Yes.
He doesn't have to make it up as he goes.
Yes.
Russ, we're down 3. Here's what we do. Here's the tunnel you enter.
Here's the tunnel you enter, and here's every option. Now let's walk through it. Let's talk through it. Let's know Melo's going to be in the left corner. We know Paul George's going to get a flare screen or a hammer play on the weak side of the ball in the right corner from right wing to left corner. And this is what you have looking downhill. Steven Adams is rolling. You have this entire middle of the court to make a play. Read the defense. Now let's take that. Let's walk through it. Let's see it at the end of games. Then let's study the film so you can get better. So that way he's comfortable knowing what's going to happen.
That's really interesting. That's why you're a coach. That's really good. Some players are different. Like you said, Magic can kind of ad-lib his way. I watch Russell Wilson. I'll give you an example in the NFL. Russell Wilson's like LeBron. Nobody in the world knows what's going to happen except Russell Wilson, and it almost always works. He is so cognitively quick that, and this is Magic had this capability. Some guys they're like kids running through a mall. They're just in and out of the kiosks and the people. And as a coach, you have to go, it'll land at the right spot. By the way, it's no knock on Russell, but he like you said, he needs to have certain systems and enter them late in games. It's no knock on him. It's just the way he is as a player.
Let's think about this. Magic, LeBron, their entire lives they had the ball and they played a point. Russell Westbrook wasn't a point guard coming into the NBA. He was a dynamic two-guard that learned to handle the ball and play the point, and he's learning on the job.
So, he entered the NFL, and then they said, okay, now you're quarterback. So he didn't have that years and years and years, to your point, of being the guy. Good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to this. Kevin Durant, I can't figure this out. My friend Jason Whitlock always says this. He said, some athletes have rabbit ears. They hear the critics, they hear the media, they hear the talk shows, they read the papers. Kevin Durant's interesting. In the offseason, he got all these huge tattoos and Rick James and stuff, and we were all like, I don't understand it. And now Kevin Durant's getting ejected constantly. So he comes back last night, he gets ejected again. Kevin Durant was mild-mannered, pleasant kid, not a trash talker. He is now Rasheed Wallace. What has happened to him? Get inside his head. What do you think's happening?
KD is at the point of his career, like the play call last night, he didn't get the foul.
Right.
That's a foul.
Okay.
The NBA is all about earning your rep, earning the whistle, playing so many years and dominating and having respect for referees. Because we all talk about when you respect the referees, which is now a topic of conversation in the NBA, you will be rewarded. What KD shows that's not always true because he always respects the referee. He's not getting these calls. So now he has to put on that edge. He has to facilitate kind of like ejections. He's strategic. But one thing he has to realize is now you're entering the playoffs with an injured roster. Your players are down. It's time to polish off that edge. It's time to get back in a great mental space because what you have to do to overcome these next couple of rounds is going to physically and mentally fatigue you. But he's also sending a message to referees like, you better call that call. I was MVP of the finals. That is a foul call. I need that call. Respect that.
He's sending a little message, little pre-playoff messaging.
Absolutely.
And finally, yesterday we got into this discussion. ESPN had a most influential guys in NBA history. Mine was MJ, Steph, and LeBron. Your list, one of the guys I did mention on my list, he wasn't in my top 3, but I think Iverson had incredible influence. So Earl Watson's most influential players of all time. And I'm just going to let you go through it and give a sentence or two on why. So you start with MJ.
MJ, for the culture. He was the first to kind of bring the swag to the NBA. Winning dunk contests with gold chains. He had the wristband. He had the knee sleeve that went around his calf. He flipped it down for the red to show. Every kid in the world was doing that. And then the Jordan, speak for itself. Yeah. That's culture. That's basketball culture. That's the birth of basketball
culture. He made
culture.
Basketball apparel, global.
Global.
All right, number 2, LeBron, why?
LeBron, everything he's doing beyond the court. He's making movies. He and MJ are the only 2 superstars that you can say that's never been injured. And the wear and tear, the athletic ability, and what they bring to the court is beyond trend setting. LeBron can touch everything around the globe in the atmosphere and make it come to life. And his team is very powerful. His vision is very powerful. And he was once knocked for what he was doing like a young Lonzo Ball. So LeBron, to me, is a definite trendsetter, and he's kind of taken it, elevated MJ's level.
Now, Iverson's very interesting because I mentioned him yesterday. You have him 3rd. Why?
So the evolution of basketball and hip-hop has always been parallel. Like that can, which is why you see musicians at every NBA game. It's an attraction there. Basketball is played with a rhythm. Hip-hop has a certain rhythm. Yeah. So hip-hop then evolved to gangster rap. It evolved to an edgier type of music. And Allen Iverson was that first kid. Edgy to come in with tattoos, to come in with the cornrows, to come in and just bring a gangster rap element to the NBA in a polished kind of a way and became a trendsetter for culture alone. He birthed the inner city culture in the NBA.
Yeah, that's really interesting. By the way, I had him on the couch here about 6 months ago, and he just blew me away. He was so interesting. Like, it was the Allen Iverson, because I didn't cover him in Philadelphia, and I covered him in 7 or 8 games. Really interesting. Now, this is interesting. You have Magic at 4. And I was talking to a friend about this last night. I said, Magic's great. But when I was a kid, he was a 6'9" point. No little kid thought, I can be Magic. He was built like a power forward. I just thought he was great. I didn't think he was influential. I actually think he's influential as a businessman out of basketball. But you have him number 4.
I think because if you look at Magic and what he brought to the team, the Showtime era, the champion, the smile, the guy that got on the court and he brought everyone who entered the arena, he brought them a new perspective on life in sports. Pushing the fast break, making passes, foreseeing things happening. He was the first, to me, that I can remember was a fluid thinker. He didn't need to be a pattern thinker. He could play the game, see the game, change the game, take a coaching plan and elevate it. And then what he did outside of sports, guys are still trying to do it. But the world is changing to more tech-savvy guys, right? Tech-savvy opportunities. So Magic was the first to do it, and he still touches the game. He's touched every player from Russell Westbrook all the way down to James Harden, DeMar DeRozan, Kobe Bryant. All these young guys still follow his path, and it's kind of networked and kind of became a web for younger players, even players who are dominant of today.
By the way, I was at the Lakers game the other night. My son was watching. It's absolutely remarkable. So we're sitting watching the game. We're behind the Laker bench, and the entire end zone stands up. I thought it was a fight. Like sometimes if there's a fight in the stands at a game, the whole crowd stood up, kind of layered. And I looked over and I'm like, oh, Magic's entering the building. All these years in Los Angeles, 20, 30 years, he walks into the Staples and the crowd rises. It's really godlike. I mean, it is incredible. I mean, this is a city, Los Angeles, where you can see, an actress on every corner, and Magic still inside the building in which he played. The crowd rises, fascinated with Magic Johnson. Okay, number 5. What in the... I mean, come on, Earl Watson. Westbrook is your 5th most influential player.
We're talking about changing the game and influence the game of basketball. Russell was the first to bring fashion to the sport. When Russell started wearing fashionable, questionable, interesting clothing, everyone was locker rooms were knocking him, laughing. They thought it was a joke. Russ brings this new fashion, and every player now have copied it. It's now you tune in early to NBA games just to see what players are wearing because of Russell Westbrook. And he's the first villain that has a an impact on pop culture. You can get his cologne. You can buy his clothes. He goes and tours Europe about fashion shows, and he's invited to. He has an influence on culture, fashion, and sports. And Russ is so dynamic, and he's playing that villain role because truly, Russ is truly one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I've seen the evolution of Russ. At UCLA, he would go into games at UCLA, and he would like put UCLA and different basketball logos in his haircut. So Russ he has always been trend setting, and for culture and what we're doing today in basketball and the NBA, he's definitely top 5.
Well, you're one of our top 5. Great seeing you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.